Yeah. So
how about history of coming into this house?
you mean breaking in to get in?
I do remember we were locked out.
Yeah.
Just looking through the windows.
Had to climb through the window.
Yeah.
But the story is, I talked to Gail almost every day. She lived down the street. And I always wanted to live in a big old house in a good neighborhood near the schools, so the children could walk to school. I just love the idea of that. And turns out that Gail said, well, the house up the street is for sale. And we've been going to Bill and Gail's in the next block for about 3 years now, every Saturday night to play cards or whatever.
Yeah, more than that.
Girls
yeah.
were little. We'd put them in the playpen and we'd have our evening. And we went back to Towel Factory Road, and Gail and I would talk every day. And she said, well, the house up the street is for sale. And I said, what house? Never even noticed this house. Been going there for 3 years and never even noticed. All I had to do was look up the street. And so I called the realtor. Kurt was at work. He didn't know anything about it. And I called the realtor and I said, you have a big old house in a nice neighborhood near the schools, meaning this one. And he says, yes. He said, no, not at this time. And so about a week later, he called, and he said, this house sounds just like what you were asking for. It's right up the street from Bill and Gail. And the people are just walking out. I see them walking to the parking lot. They just signed the contract, so it's not on the market yet. Would you like to come see it? And I said, oh, I'd love to come see it. So when he came home from work, I said, we're going to go see a house.
So we're doing what?
Yeah. And turns out we went to go see it. And it was the only one we looked at. And I think he brought his dad by a couple days later at another showing just to check the furnace in the basement and whatever. And
Our version of a home inspection.
yeah.
Looks okay.
Yeah. Can we buy
It's
it?
the same doctor from
Yeah.
the ER.
And we bought the house. I was 23 years old. You were 25.
Yeah, never looked at another house.
42 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was in January. So we didn't know what the yard looked like. It was completely covered in snow. And I do remember being disappointed when we actually moved in, because we had to wait for the people who lived presently. They were going to build a house, and so we had to wait for them to have their house built. So we would get there in the spring or summer. I said, that's fine. But I remember being very disappointed when we came up to the house in June to move in that they had taken the porch swing off the porch. I thought that should have been part of what went with the house. I was looking forward to swinging on a porch swing. So we didn't get that. We never put one up.
No.
No. And the other part was, like you were just saying, that the house was, the key wouldn't open the door, so we had to open the window and climb through the office to get in for some reason. Welcome.
There's so much gold.
There were gold.
I feel like there's a lot of
Golden gray.
There
Golden
were
gray.
gold sheets with ball fringe as curtains on several of the windows, and the downstairs rooms were with a very thinly gray striped wallpaper.
There was carpet.
Everywhere.
Lots of carpet.
Gold sculptured carpet everywhere. Yeah. And
Did it feel like a stretch to be able to afford it?
Yeah, it felt like it. It felt like it, yeah.
I'm not sure it was at the moment.
Yeah, probably less so than it felt like,
but I remember what the mortgage was.
Yeah.
$205.54.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Those first couple years were tough because the principal only went down like a couple dollars. You're thinking, all that money's going somewhere else. I didn't understand the concept of that. I thought, wait a minute, we paid $205.54 and they're not counting all of it.
Yeah, not counting it at all.
But here we stay.
Yeah.
Did you own the Towel Factory house?
Yeah.
And so you sold it, obviously.
Yeah.
Did you have any trouble selling it, or it just...
I think so.
Yeah. It sold pretty quick, as I recall. I think because we had the span waiting to be in this house, we ended up with kind of the same thing there. There was yep, it's sold, but, we kept moving until whatever.
Yeah. But I do remember on West Ninth, there was a little issue about you asked did you own it? We thought we were buying it. You can tell that story.
Yeah.
Smith.
Yeah. So we had our famous trailer, our trailer house. It was our
awesome.
home. It was cool. And that was the time we're at the end of the street out there, and basically a field across the way, and then it was
It was our first home.
yeah, it was good. It was fine for what we needed. So the way we set it up was the land had to be owned by the property in order to meet zoning regulations. And so in order to do that, it was set up as a purchase agreement that we had to pay on. Well, they never intended for that to be a purchase, be the people that we bought it from. But they did create a purchase agreement. And when it came time for us to move, we had a property and we had a home and a building and a lot that we both were paying on. So at that point, it was ours to sell.
But the owner thought that we were renting it all along, and there was a little bit of an issue there. I know your dad kind of helped in that situation. So,
Yeah.
And the irony, I don't know what it comes around to. So we ended up selling the trailer to a couple, who later she ends up living across the street.
Mm-hmm.
So Sarah Clark bought our trailer, and then a few years later she ends up owning
After
the
they
house that
divorced
goes
and remarried, they
Yeah.
were over here for neighbors for several years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny.
3 years, 3 in trailer, 3 in tile factory, and
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah.